Loosen this stupid tie. That's better. The Glock 19, the Glock 48. Should you buy this guy over this guy? That will be up to you. But in this video, you will see B-roll, you will see shooting, you will see a direct comparison. So if you are interested in seeing this thing up close, seeing what it looks like shooting in the hand, hearing two random people's opinion of it, then I think or hope you'll enjoy this video. Big thank you to the Sportsman Guide and Leviathan Group for making this happen. I would not be reviewing this weapon otherwise, so big thank you to Sportsman Guide for shipping that out and letting me review this Glock 48. This is not going to be Glock 48 is better than video. This is not going to be Glock 19 is better than video. Just like the 19X video, the best firearm for you is the firearm you shoot the best in any given context. That's it. So to give you an idea what I'm going to do on this video, I have a buddy that's going to help me out, Kurt. Then we're going to debrief a little bit and talk about what we liked or didn't like about the Glock 48 as compared to the Glock 19. Now the only reason I bring up the Glock 19 is because Glock itself obviously is saying this is a variant of that handgun. So I thought the best thing to do would be just to compare them side by side, same day, same range, and to see how they perform. Now Glock introduced this new handgun at SHOT Show this year, earlier in the year. It's a slim line version. I have carried the Glock 30S before for off-duty. Most recently I've carried the Glock 43 for about a year, so I am somewhat familiar with their slim line versions. And the first time I held the Glock 48, I would say the first thing I thought is this is a skinny Glock 19. I believe a Gen 5 Glock 19 is 1.3 inches, somewhere around there, like 1.34. A Glock 48's width, 1.1. Glock 19, Glock 48, same height, same length. Obviously some things that stand out to you about the 48, it's a single stack mag. That single stack mag is going to hold 10 rounds for you. You are sacrificing 5 rounds when you come from the 19 to the 48. Positive of that, however, it weighs less. Now personally in the hand, I did notice it weighing less. However, it wasn't substantially less. It wasn't like I was holding two completely different firearms. Trigger pull was good. Did not notice a difference between Glock 19 to Glock 48 trigger pull. There is a thinner handle on the grip, and that I did appreciate. I've got huge hands, and I just felt like I had a lot of control with the weapon, and that snap or the muzzle rise definitely under my area of control because of the amount of real estate I had on that grip. Now the version I have, I didn't shoot anything special with the sights. It was just standard Glock sights. You obviously, just like anything else, can get the upgraded sights on it. I would suggest that. Your line of sight on the Glock 48 is about 5 inches. Trigger reach is right around 2.5 inches, I believe. And the trigger pull is about 5.5 pounds. I think 5.4. Also, another small difference you'll see in the bottom of the slide, it will be ported. I'm hoping that shows up okay. That is to adjust your front sight. Glock introduced their two-tone finish to it on the slide. There are also slide serrations on the front and rear of the Glock. I don't know if that's coming in. Crap. There are slide serrations on the front and the rear of the Glock 48. I found that most advantageous just for breaking the firearm down. I did practice some malfunctions with the firearm, and racking the 48 was easy, just like any other Glock. Administratively with the gun, takedown was easy, slide lock easy. I mean, I didn't anticipate any of that being difficult, but you never know with the new gun. Aside from those more striking differences, I thought the Glock 48 felt exactly like it should feel in the hand. Now listen, there's also many other differences from the Glock 19 that I'm not going to list because this video is not a what is better than what video. In the end, when you go out and look at these firearms for your own purposes, CCW or otherwise, do not take my advice alone. Do not take YouTube's advice alone. I don't care who it is out there. You need to get out, shoot it yourself, and pick the one that works best for you in that context. So my buddy Kurt and I put quite a few rounds through this firearm last night. You'll see in the end of the video kind of our review of it, or our final analysis, if you will. Now the one thing I'll say before we get into that portion is a lot of manufacturers are making single stack 9mm CCW intended firearms. So when I went through it, I thought, why the Glock 48? All right, everyone, we're up on the range with my buddy Kurt. We're going to kind of go through some things that we expect from the 48. Obviously, I've not shot it before this time. This is my first time shooting this weapon. It'll be the first time Kurt is shooting the weapon. Expectations, this is supposed to be a 19 variant, and we already have impressions on that firearm. So Kurt, I'll let you go first. What are your expectations for the 48? And first, have you read anything about it?
I haven't read much about the 48 other than size comparison to the 19. So in the 48, I guess what my expectations would be, I understand they are slimmer, which obviously would be good, and the capacity is a little bit higher than was in the 43. Okay. And it's nearly the size of the 19. Is it more controllable? Is it worth it sacrificing 5 rounds in the mag to be able to conceal it a little bit better or shoot a little bit better? Time will tell.
I'm not a Glock guy or a fanboy per se, but I enjoy the brand. I like what they do. I like shooting them. So I don't think, or I don't anticipate this is going to be a bad experience for me. I've carried the 30S forever as a backup weapon, just switched last year to the 43. So we're getting a little bit closer to this. But as Kirk said, this is the Glock 19 variant. My anticipation for this is I'm going to enjoy it. I expect it to shoot close to the 19. We just qualified with our 19, and then I shot it kind of at my leisure after that as well, and I love it. One thing I definitely noticed, and I noticed this in my 30S too, these slimline Glocks, I was so used to, Glock 17, say a Gen 3 version, the slide is like the Titanic. So your follow-up shots are just so smooth because that slide's heavy. It's going to bring your follow-up down a little bit, at least with me shooting. I know that's not the same for everybody. I do anticipate this not shooting like a full frame. Shocker alert, that's kind of Captain Obvious there. Moving into this 48, immediately what I notice is the frame being thin. It's just, even with the 19 being kind of slimmed down enough to where it's so comfortable in your hand, to me, without shooting it, this feels natural in my hand, and I don't feel like there's real estate there that I'm wanting. This is the fit in my hand of the 48. 19, this is the fit, and man, that goes back to natural. You definitely feel a meteor grip on that 19. There's more real estate. My hand doesn't connect back here, and it just feels better in the hand. It doesn't bug me as much. I mean, I could probably leave this as is, and honestly, without shooting it, I would say that I think it would feel better on me without, a Talon grip or making this any wider than it is. So the grip for me doesn't bug me a whole lot, and it didn't bug me on the 19 either. So, if you're watching videos out there and people are cursing the grip up and down, we go back to what I said earlier. Try it out yourself. You are going to be the judge of which firearm suits you best.
I'm eager to give this one a whirl and just see what she's got.
All right, unfortunately, we are done shooting. It was a good time, but I am tired. I'm sweating like a pig. We had to move everything out of there, but it was a good time. So I know I have my impressions, but again, I'd like to kick it over to Kurt.
Impressions were it's a decent package. The thinness of it, the slim model definitely comes through and shines. I wasn't sure what exactly to expect. It did feel good in the hands. One thing on the grip I was a little disappointed with on this model as compared to the Gen 5, especially the 19, is the aggressiveness of the texture on the grip. It left me wanting a little bit more, feel more comfortable with the G19 grip, especially with some Talon grips that I put on it for some extra stickiness. The Model 48 seemed to lack some of the aggressiveness in the grip, as I mentioned earlier. So to me, it was a little shifty in the hand.
This is why you shoot things yourself, because I actually don't mind this grip. I would probably leave this as is. Kurt's right. It's poppy in the hand. Like it definitely, you feel it on your follow-up shots. But I don't think that, for me, I don't think that had anything to do with the grip. A lot of you are going to know this already, but this obviously would be aimed at someone that's not sure about putting some tape on their Glock.
The shooting was flawless. It pretty much functioned very well through all the ammo we threw at it. Trigger pull, no, it didn't strike me as being anything different from the typical Glock. Smooth enough, crisp enough break, could feel the reset nicely for follow-up shots, so there was no issue there. I was certainly able to keep good groupings, control it. Even the muzzle rise was not a terrible issue on fast shots or quick shooting. So overall, the accuracy was spot on. Controllability was spot on for me.
Controllability, you feel it, but I don't think it affected at all. Now, again, if you're a competitive shooter and you really care about the size of your groupings and where they're at, you probably will have an issue with it. I'm not sure. I did not. Another thing that I noticed when I opened the box was no rail, and I knew that was coming. I mean, Glock showed pictures of this thing before I was sent it. I don't run a light off-duty, so it's not a big deal to me. But if that is something that you run, obviously this gun's out, so there's not much for me to add to the absence of a rail.
That begs the question, is the G48, in my opinion, a G19 killer? It is not. Sacrificing 5 rounds of the 9mm to go with a smaller package isn't quite enough to tilt the balance for me. Does that make the 48 an outcast? It absolutely does not. If I'd never had touched a G19 before and went from the 40s, and the 48 was the first Glock and 9mm that I had tried, I may have a difference of opinion.
Here's my quickest verdict on the Glock 48. Me personally, I would purchase this even if I had a Glock 19. Here's my reasoning. For me, it's comfortability. When I walk out the door, I want to be as comfortable as possible. I'm never going to leave my house without my firearm. However, you're lying if you're telling anyone that it's not something that you think about when you put on your body or when you're sitting down at a restaurant. And I don't think that should be anybody's priority. Like I said, it's the one that you shoot the best. But I shot just fine with this. I shot the same as I did with the Glock 19. What adds value to this weapon for me is the profile. And here's a perfect example, guys, of why, or girls, of why you should not listen to us. Don't listen to Kurt. Don't listen to me. You've got to go out there and shoot this firearm yourself.
Thank you again to Sportsman Guide. A big thank you, you guys. That was awesome to be able to test that firearm out. And as always, check me out on my other platforms. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, a little bit of Twitter. Still haven't quite figured that all out yet, but I am over there. Have a great week, you guys. See you soon.